Hey YouTube, JP Dillon. This is about a 1969 or 1970 Philco model S-1262bk, as in black. And this was a grab at an estate sale where they were literally just saying make an offer on something. And this was I saw the CRT hump sticking out of a pile of magazines, pulled it out, and this is what we got. So it's missing the UHF knob, which eventually I'd like to find. And it's got a little nick on top, but it's otherwise complete. This whole house was like a Mod Podge that they just kept adding on to, so it was kind of a maze. But it's in okay shape. The plastic's a little faded. The little rubber fake leather handles falling apart. The internal antenna's busted. Not that it's much use with digital or taking over analog. Let's see if I can flip it around here. Here's the back. It was probably sitting in some sort of moisture environment for a while. You can see this choice splice here. This is pretty fantastic. This looks like this was done eons ago. Love seeing stuff like this. So I don't know what this is going to do. Haven't really tried it out yet. But peering into the back, we can peer into the back. It's got vacuum bulbs. There's one poking out there, Sylvania. And some more, looks like a Compactron back there. So let's power it up and see what it does. Okay, let's see if it explodes. Gotta wait for the hiss bang, whatever magic to happen inside. Vertical failure. That's about all we're getting out of it. It had something there for a second. Oh, we get snow. That's at least a good sign. Cool. Let's crack it open and see what it looks like on the inside. Alright, so here she is. Definitely been outdoors a little bit. Look at that nice crusty buildup. Series string set for sure. That's probably your vertical output transformer. Audio output transformer. Let's see what else here. 4CS6, that's an IF thing. Is this a 38HE7? Yeah. And then hiding in here is probably our flyback. Here's your little tube chart thing. .10JY8 is our video output. I don't think I've seen one of those before. It's using a 8FQ7 for the horizontal. That's pretty common. 17JZ8 is the vertical out. That's a pretty common Compactron. But a 1K3 for the high voltage rectifier. Usually, if it's something this age, it's usually a miniature, like a 1BC2 or something like that. Huh. Well, let's get the cage open. Kind of curious to see what's floating around inside of the high voltage cage. Yep, 1K3. I would have figured they'd be using a miniature. That flyback looks really good. There's no wax strip. Of core's not cracked or falling apart. That's cool. Thing's in pretty good shape. And there's our ultra high failure rate horizontal phase detector diode. That should probably get changed out. And there's the exploding death cap across the AC line. That's fun when those go. And unfortunately, this looks like it has one of those pots with get the little tin whiskers. That's sucky. So, my thoughts are, as far as the vertical failure, probably one or more of those capacitors is leaky. In fact, it's pretty much guaranteed that it's going to be leaky. We can test the 17JZ8 just for the hell of it, but I'm pretty much betting that this is just going to be another recap job. And then let's see what they got hiding over here. I just saw that. That looks like your giant filter can that does everything. I think after we get it going, we'll run that a bit and do a temperature check on it. Let's see what it's like to get the chassis out of here. Doesn't look like it's too fun. It almost looks like you have to separate the entire thing from the cabinet, because you've got screws here and behind here they're holding the bottom of the chassis in, and then you got ones up here that are holding all of this in, because they don't provide an access port on the bottom for you to get to all the soldering and everything. And given the fact that it's a circuit board and it's got tubes on it, I'm pretty much betting it's going to be need a lot of resoldering. What's interesting is they got these heat shields here. They've got this shield bolted on the bottom of the circuit board here that's covering the, what is that, video drive, sound drive. Let's see what that is over there. That's like IF, and yeah, the IF things are shielded. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you've got this other shield up here, this heat shield for the horizontal out, so it doesn't melt the cabinet. That makes sense. A little bit of thinking there. So really our next project is getting this thing out of its case and seeing what we can do to get a lot of these capacitors replaced. We did have vertical sweep there until it started to warm up, and then it just kind of freaked out, but this is not going to be a fun one to work on. So let's go ahead and yank the 17JZ8, which is your multi-vibrator output for your vertical circuit, and see if the tube's bad. I think it's going to be capacitors, but we'll check and find out. Alright, out comes the B&K, and I think I got everything set up here. 17JZ8. 1478912 AF EDCB. Alright, looks good. Socket 23. Let's pop this thing in here. No short, no leakage. That's still usable. I wouldn't call it a bad tube. A lot of these emissions testers are just kind of a get it close. Alright, so we're going to move F and D and EC and then change the test function. So let's see. Move F to here. And C. E, C, and B. B, A. Okay, so we got AF, EC, B, B, A. AF. okay. And then sensitivity is going to be 78 instead of 55. And let's check this one. Yeah, so this is still an okay tube. I think really what it is we're going to find that there's leaky capacitors in the vertical circuit that need to be changed out. Yeah, so this is going to be a fun one. Okay, so it's time to be a little bit realistic about this thing. This is really our vertical circuit right here, comprising everything. We've got our test point there, which is supposed to be 140 volts. And the amount of time it would take me to take this whole chassis out, separate it from the picture tube, because that's really what you have to do. If you look at this chassis is bolted in a U shape. You'd have to separate the yoke, which is starting to crack and come apart. Separate this. And also this has yummy plate throughs here too. That's fancy. So given what this really isn't worth the time for a full on disassembly and restoration. I think what I am going to do though is I'm going to cut out those capacitors, just clip the leads there where they extrude from the body of the cap, and scrape the leads so they're nice and clean, make some eyelets out of new caps, and solder some new caps in there and see if that changes anything. Maybe also check those resistor values like R29, R37, etc. And there's another one creeping down in there. What are you? Yeah, that guy creeping down in there. Check to make sure that those haven't increased in value or opened. And then turn it on again and see what happens to it. But given where this has been, the fact that it looks like it's been outside and it's been kind of yucky, I don't think it's worth the effort to totally pull this chassis just to replace those couple of parts and see what happens. So what I'm going to do, like I said, clip the caps out, replace them, check for increased resistor values and things like that, clean all the pots up, and see where we're at as far as the operation of the vertical again. Alright, so just to show you guys what I do, I've already got one in there. But the thing you do is you clip the old part out, obviously. Trying to get the camera situated where you can see it better. So here's one that I've clipped out. And I'm just taking the X-Acto and scraping the oxide off of the leads here as much as I can on the surface area I can. And then what I do is I take the old part and I estimate where the leads would terminate and then add a little bit of distance so that I'll have something to slip the eyelets into. So let me do that with this one. I'll show you how it turns out. So this is kind of what it is, and you can see that I've made those little eyelets there on both sides. And the job of the eyelets will be to slip over the posts there sticking out. And so then what I'll do is I'll apply a little bit of solder here to tin them and get them ready. Slip the part over the leads, finish soldering it up, and it should be a nice clean cut. And so there's the part soldered in place, and you can see how I have it done up there. And the reason why you pre-tin everything is to minimize the amount of heat that the lead is exposed to, which would compromise the solder on the bottom side of the board. So there's two down. I'll replace those two green jobbers there, and maybe that film guy there. They don't typically go bad, but you know, while you're in here, might as well, right? Yeah, so I'll replace those remaining two green guys, maybe the film guy over there, check the resistances, clean the pots, and then we'll try it out again. I've got the new capacitors in. We've got everything, all the pots cleaned up. So I'm going to see if it actually runs with vertical sweep now, or if it doesn't. So we're just going to wait for everything to warm up and see what it does now. It looks like we got full sweep now. Not much in the way of IF activity. Weak weak video output. That could be tuner tubes, that could be video IF or whatever. It's starting to get a little brighter as it warms up. No VHF activity though, or at least it's like super weak. So maybe that VHF mixer oscillator tube is bad. Let's pull that out and check that. Alright, so on the left we have the mixer oscillator, which is the 5GJ7. And then on the right we have a 3HA5. Pretty common for a line operated portable. The fact that we have UHF snow but no VHF snow tends to suggest the mixer oscillator more so than the RF amp. But we're going to check both of them anyways, and there's probably a good chance that this guy's crummy. So let's see what it turns up. Alright, so first up on the list is the 3HA5, socket 3, 48, and 3 volts, 48, and socket 4. So we're just going to plop this one down in here. 3 volts, 48 on the sensitivity. Yeah, it's coming up. Alright, so that's pretty much what I thought. The RF amp is okay. So now what we do is we look for the, what is it, 5GJ7? Let's see here. What am I looking at? Yeah, 5GJ7. This one's the fancy one you got to use all the switches for. Okay. CECABF. And then what's the next one here? D and then BA. And that's going to be socket 29. And then a 5 volt filament, of course. Come on, wakey, wakey. I don't see it lighting up in there, do you? So there you go. Kind of like I thought. It's defective, it's got grid leakage, and no emission. So, there you go. Symptom of okay UHF, no VHF is definitely mixer oscillator. So, we need to locate a 5GJ7. I'm pretty sure I don't have one in my inventory here, since I primarily do audio work here. There wouldn't be a need for TV tubes. So, anyway, that's where we're at with the Philco. Thanks for watching the first episode. We'll get a mixer oscillator tube, and that will probably improve the picture. But you know, just out of grins and giggles, since I have to go digging through my TV stuff, let's find out what other tubes are bad. Alright, so next up we've got our IF tubes, which is a 4EH7 and 4EJ7. So let's look them up real quick. 4EJ7, that's easy. Socket 9, 58, and a 6 volt filament. Yeah, let's go ahead and wait for that guy to warm up. That looks okay. And it looks like that the EH7 is going to be the same socket with a little bit less load on it. It's going to be 40. Sometimes they do a good job of hiding the filament on here. You can't really see it. There it goes. You can see it lighting up in there. Up. Got some grid leakage on that one. Getting worse as it warms up. Still good emission though, but it's leaky. That means that we're going to get improper video response, weak IF, etc. Okay, so the 4EH7 and the 5GJ7 both have to go. What's next? Okay, so next up is the 10JY8 video output and the 8FQ7 horizontal oscillator. So let's see what we have to do for those. 10JY8, it's a weird number. Pretty simple test though. It's going to be socket 8, 32 and 55 with a 10 volt filament. Okay, waking up. Yeah, it's coming around. And 55. Yep, this is still usable. And then 8FQ7. I believe that's socket 8. I've tested bajillions of these. Yeah, it's usually 75 on both sections. 6FQ7, 74, so ding ding ding, that was close. Alright, wait for that to come around. It's going to light up. It's going to do anything. This socket really needs to be replaced. This is old and touchy. Tired, but probably still usable. I'm sure I've got ones at home, but I don't think this one's dead yet. I suppose we'll find out once we actually put it into use. Alright, so that's that so far. Alright, so for the two last remaining signal path tubes, we have the 12FX5 and the Ford CS6. These work for the sound. So let's look up a 12FX5. There's an FX8. Let's see, FX5. Let's double check and see that that's what that is. Yep, FX5. Socket 3, 68, and a 12 volt filament. I really don't care much about the sound. I'm still wondering why I'm hearing the vertical through the speaker. It's probably some decoupling cap or something in the audio that is screwing up. Yeah, audio amplifier output's still good. And then let's look for a 4CS6. '94 socket 1. Isn't this exciting? The fate of tubes. Yeah, no. This is like the boring part of the job. Okay, so the sound stuff is okay. And the fact that we got high voltage without blooming or anything like that suggests that the high voltage rectifier is okay, so we'll just leave that be. Alright, so it looks like where we're at with this thing is we've got a bad tuner mixer oscillator and a crummy IF tube. So I'll go through my inventory tonight and we'll see if we can get those replaced. I'm not going to bother checking the horizontal output and stuff because the sweep looked okay. And once we get a real picture on it, we can dial it in and make it look nice and pretty, assuming that everything else on it works. There's not too many film caps. There's this one back here for the audio, which may be causing our vertical that we're hearing in the sound. It's probably some decoupling cap to ground from a grid or a plate. Yeah, so far, so good. So, thanks for watching the first episode. More stuff to come on this one soon. We'll put it together and see if we can't get it to make a picture.